Good morning and welcome to another episode of MuscleModelCars.com. Okay, today I'm going to continue. Last week we were dealing with the uh, James Bond 007 movie. We're continuing it. I want to show you the progress we got at this point and kind of tell you what I did to get to that point. So where we left off, I showed you the painting. If you looked at some of the pictures that were posted on the website, we went through the painting, separating each item that needed to be painted a different color. Okay, and now I want to show you how it kind of turned out. Up until yesterday, I was, also doing different types of just kind of making sure everything looked it nice, neat. This is the underneath the bottom of the front of the vehicle. This was an option here for the spoiler, and then I had another. They gave you another option, which was a smaller type of spoiler, which would give you the a more I guess, not such an intense look. See if I have it, but basically you had this option to go underneath the front. This is the front bumper. The Boss came with chrome bumpers, but this was interchangeable with the Mach 1 that had the option of having the big, large front end. And I'll get to that part, but whatever the case may be, where we are now is with this here. As you can see, this is the firewall. It's painted. It's got the sort of indications of it being silver. This would be when you raise the front hood. This would be the firewall that you would see where the engine is in the front, and this is up against, and then the windshield, of course, up here. Okay, and this is just different components where you see the silver, kind of showing you some of how the wiring would be. So I wanted to kind of show you that. We did the spoiler, even though in the movie the spoiler, the Mach 1 that James Bond drove, did not have the spoiler on it, and it didn't have the rear velour type of blind type of shutters going down the window, the back window. Okay, I'll show you that. But this is the spoiler. Okay, that could be attached. That would have been attached to it if you wanted to do it yourself. In the movie, it didn't have the spoiler, but I like the spoiler, and I like those shade kind of back window blinds. Okay, attachment, and we'll show you that. Again, you got. I haven't painted this yet, but against the inside of the vehicle, this is where the steering wheel would go, and then this would be the instrument panel here. As you can see, it's kind of painted it a little bit. I'm gonna do some touch-ups, but to kind of show you where we are with it. Glove box here. This is the where the radio would be, and then the vents and things like that. And this is the instrument panel. Okay, this is all going to be tightened up, but kind of give you an indication. And there are also decals that came with this, so they'll be inserted into here. Okay, and then this here will be cleaned up nice to give it a wood grain look. Okay, when I'm finished with it. We also got the seats, the back seats, the rear seats. I just finished that up. If you notice, I got the tape. This is a detailing tape, the thin one. I got the fat one as well, which about I want to say maybe a quarter of an inch. This looks to be more so like an eighth of an inch, I do believe. Uh, well, this might be a quarter, and then the eighth would be smaller, skinnier. But and then you got the half inch also, which is a thicker one, and then this so twice this size, and that would be if you wanted to say block this whole seat off. You cut a piece and put there, and then paint around it. So I would cover this red and then paint the black wherever I needed to touch up. Okay, but this is detail tape found at the hobby shop. Okay, as well. Okay, and I was talking to you earlier about the uh, instrument panel here, and everything. All of this looks kind of sloppy right now, but we'll go in there. I don't leave it like this, but I'm just want to try to make a quick point. I hadn't talked to you guys for over a week, but anyway, what we're going to do is show you this here to get that wood grain look. This is if you can read this, okay, it's more of a marker type of ink, not ink, I'm sorry, paint that you would put on, and the color of the cap indicates the color that's in it. I got a few different ones. I have another one that's here. This isn't from the same manufacturer. The gun on Mach. Let me see. The one I just showed you is called a Gundam marker. Gundam marker. Okay, and this one here is just a regular chrome type of liquid chrome, they call it. Okay, that's what I use for some of those chrome features that you see here in here, so you don't use the paint brushes and things like that to get the really fine points within it. Depends on how critical you want to get with it and how particular, but also you'd be able to do it in here as well. As you can see over here, you have some right there, the gas paddle, then you have the brake paddle, and then even along the side of the wall over here, you see the door handle to pull the door closed. That's right there. And then I got handles that was given in the kit that I'm going to have to install here that are chrome. Okay, and as you can see, you had a wood grain that's going to be here when we're finished with that. But as you can see, I kind of give you an idea of what happens. Don't expect this to be perfect, but also you can see that it peels right off. It doesn't leave any residue on there. Okay, so I want to tell you that this here isn't a perfect science. Okay, so there's going to be smudges. Okay, so you'll just have to do a little touch up on some of it. Some of it is better than the other. Try to get this here so I can get it off. What I'm doing here is trying to peel off the tape here. If you got big fingers, okay, just lift it up enough with the tweezers, and then you just peel it on off, okay? And then you just do that all around here, okay? And I want you to see how it could end up so you don't get discouraged when you see it. That even people that's been doing it for a while do have to go back and touch it up. It's not a perfect, like I said, science. So you have to kind of not be too critical of yourself, okay, and understand that this is paint, and it will run if you put it on too thick. And trying to reach all these different crevices and keep it neat is going to be a challenge, but it's nothing that can't be done. Right over here, as you can see, you got the red bumped up against the black, but as you can see, I'm trying to grab it, and if you leave it for any length of time, you may end up, but as you can see, we got it off, okay? It may be stickier with the paint because the paint also dries on top of the detailing tape, but the good news is that detailing tape doesn't have residue. If you try to use regular tape, that you, painter's tape or something like that, it's going to be residue all over here, all up against here. When you peel this tape off, it's going to be sticky, gooey, and gum. But if you look at it now, you see it's still nice and shiny because this detail tape doesn't leave uh, any type of residue on the surface. Okay, so that's one thing. I also keep these pieces, these small pieces of tape, detail tape, because I may need it to touch up something, and so I don't want to affect the areas around it. And that just again depends on your how particular you are about the look of it. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, if I go here, I'm peeling this bottom off down here, which will be the back seat floor, and as you can see, it's pretty neat. Neat enough, close enough for government work. So I was in the military, so you might find a lot of references to in military terminology. Okay, so, and maybe that might be why I'm so particular about neatness and everything. And you see the difference, how it ran over here, but over here was fine. So that's no big deal. That there, this little part here, if you can see the difference, over here is nice and straight, but over here it ran a little bit, right? And up here you can see it ran a little bit, and over here it ran a little bit. All of that is no big deal, because you have different types of paint markers, like this one here. Again, okay, there you got it. Okay, and this has happened to be red, as you can see. So I use that in here for the seats. Okay, and but this can be found at the hobby shop as well. Okay, and you have also the I want to say you got a bunch of different types of ways to get it right here. If you into paints, you got these here, okay, that I use on if I must with a brush, okay, as you can see, okay, you know, you screw off the tops, and then you have to mix it a little bit, because some of the I guess some of the different types of mixtures comes up to the top, because it's sort of like an oil type of based paint. So you have to mix it before you use it, and then you just use simple things to apply it, like these here. Okay, the brushes. Okay, model shop. Okay, this type of stuff here is what I would use, and you can see the little paintbrush right there. Okay, but you can buy extra ones for fatter whatever to get you know what you need. Okay, and we got also what's needed. Sometimes while it's drying, you're going to need alligator clips. I showed you this like in the very first video. These will stick in the top of a block that has, I showed you that in the first video. And then what it does is hold the part and keeps it from the paint being taken off when you lay it down or something. This keeps it straight in the air until it dries. And these are called alligator clips, okay? And I'm sure you're familiar with them, but they're in the hobby shop. But they're basically for modelists who want stuff to dry neatly and cleanly, okay? Another thing that we have I wanted to show you is if you make a mistake somewhere and you can't really get it, believe it or not, these again are sanding needles, we call it, okay? And they're fine sanding needles that you use to sand off paint or smoothing out edges or things that you might want. Okay, and as you can see, it's a 240 grit, and that's the kind of the surface type, whether it's a thickness. The grit, it lets you, if it's a fine type of surface or whatever, or the grit is what you have to understand. It'll either take a lot off or it'll be fine and take it off a little at a time. So pay attention to the value of that grit, because I do believe, me personally, I think these needles are very good to get to rub it off. I've used one and it brings it off, but it doesn't take it off in chunks. So 240 seems to be pretty good. And there you go. Okay, and they're called plastic sanding needles. It's made for plastic. Okay. And then we got also in those small crevices and everything, like in with the back seat and everything, these little corners and crevices. What we have here are cotton type of swabs, but they can be used up in the corners of everything to get everything nice and neat. If you got some spots up in here that needs to be like where the red and the black touching, and up in the corners somewhere, and you can't put a brush up in there to get it, or a paint marker or anything, you use this here. You would use a tray, which I have here. Okay, this tray is like a painter's type of tray, basically. And then what you do is put your paint in there. You use these swabs right here to get each one. You put the paint in here, like those small bottles I just showed you of paint. Dip your swab in there and use it like a paintbrush, but you can get fine corners and tight corners that a brush can't get, because brushes tend to spread. They're nice when they're new, but as they get older, they tend to flare out, and you can't really get fine. You can't fine tune those corners and edges. So the swabs are very handy. I'm going to go through these if you're really particular about neatness, which I am on occasion, but I'm trying to get better. And I was watching a video. A guy had been doing this for like 70 years, okay, putting models together, and he really had, I don't know, almost every model I had ever seen from a kid. I've been doing this since the 60s, and I think this guy, he was 70. No, he'd been doing it for 70 years, so he had to be at least 75 or something. But if you saw him, you could probably look him up on the. I'm gonna give him a shout out, but you look him up. Just type in, I think 70 years of model car building or whatever. It's a nice video. It shows pretty much every vehicle I ever seen, even ones I haven't seen since the 60s. And then, so anyway, this here would become in handy when you want to use those swabs. Okay. So next we got, also I wanted to show you is, we have made it down to the point where, because we've talked about this, and then so I haven't put the front seats in, because those are drying, and I'll show you what they look like. But we're trying to keep it close to the James Bond look. But if not, me personally, I'm putting in some of my own things, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit. But what I'm going to show you is these pieces here it's all that's left in the assembly of what we need to do. And some of these are alternative pieces, like the manifold right here. I chose to go keep it in the realm of how it would look, the car looked in the movie almost, except I'm still on the fence about adding the spoiler on the back. I did think about not doing it, but I thought, maybe I will. So we'll see when I show you the finished product on the next video. I had planned on this being the next one, but other things came up. Okay, the hood, as you can see, I've already did it of the Mach 1. I had to do a lot of taping to keep it from spreading to the paint job, so the paint job looks good. I'm going to cover that up here, the hood, and I'm going to do this part up in here in black, okay, and then it'll be a nice little look here with this and this being black. That'll be my next move. This here was for that alternative stock look, if it was like, being put on the track. This here, the one seat that came with it, because I had an option, would have been put there, and then I had a roll cage with it. So, in stock car racing, you put a roll cage. If you get in an accident, the car flips over, the roll cage protects you. But we didn't need this, so that's that. And then I elected to make the steering wheel black. I'm going to go back over it, black and red. I got to go over it. I have to wait till it dried from last night, and then go back over it with, fineness. I was going to leave it all silver, but I thought, I want a red one so to go with the seats. Okay, so we got to go with that. But I let it dry a lot of times because I want to get the a nice smooth look. Again, here are some of the seats here. I'm going to go back over this with the fine tune with that suave we're talking about. I can get up in here, make it nice and neater if I need to, but this is how it looks. The front seats, okay? So what you have, look, is going to look kind of like, it may not stay because it's not installed yet, but basically the look is like this, okay? And so there's a lot of touch-up that's got to be done there, but I can get to that, okay? I just want to get you to see. All of this I had to do because I wanted it to look like I did in the movies. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now, but I'm going to fine-tune it in a minute. Stick shift hasn't been in. This was the armrest right here. And then with that, I'm going to go back in with this guy here on the doors and down here, wherever it says wood grain right here. This brown look is going to be symbolic of the wood grain, okay? And then we'll fine tune it, but that's where we are with this guy here. So, and it looks pretty neat. But like I said, back here in the back, I have to neaten that up a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Then what else we have? Okay, I remember I told you there are alternatives with the with that spoiler, and so I had this one also as opposed to this big one here. I could have went with a smaller one on the front bumper, a smaller front bumper, or the larger bumper, okay, which is it has a spoiler already kind of attached to it, because if you look at the front of it, it's going to be looks like that, and then it attaches to the front grille up here, and then you got that spoiler underneath the bottom. Of course, this is where the license plates go. So I like this one better than this guy, but I do believe the bumper in the movie, when I told you about the Boss Mustang, had the option of having the bumper the same color, or you had the chrome. The Boss had the chrome look, so I could have made this chrome if I wanted to, but then it's not a Boss, it's a Mach, so we keep it that way. And then you got this option, the flared with the underneath it. It looks very nice. Okay. And And of course, what's left over is the lights. I got to put caps over the lights and everything, which I installed the lights on the front of the grill, and then I'll show it to you in a second. But that's the only lighting left is these two that goes over your turn signal lights here. Now for the final thing that I'll show you, it's going to be what I was telling you about is the markings, of it. We've gotten so far. We've did the painting, we've did the detailing, and I installed this even though this wasn't in the movie. Right here, it just gives it a cooler look to me. I like it. As you can see, we got some of the decals on there. We got the lighting decal in the front, the red in the back. We got the detail of the stripe on it. Okay, and then we got the rear. Got to touch that up a little bit, and then but I let stuff dry before I go back and touch it up to see how it dried. Okay, and in case it has to be re-glued, because sometimes it takes a lot of time to glue. So we got that in there. Then we got up under here, all of this stuff here will be painted. Up under here, we got to just touch up a little paint, and I have the paint for it. But as you can see, it's to me, this is much of a better look. I like for the Mach. Okay, I love these here. Love it. Shutters, if you want to call them, or velour, or type of whatever you want to call it. But anyway, and this is the front grille. I got to go through this, but there's a chrome piece that's going to go out here. This has to be black. All of this has to be black. Got to touch up in there, okay? Because there's a chrome face that's going to go over here. So I'm going to make this all black, but this helps me visualize it. And that piece I was telling you about with the bumper, with the front bumper, this is the piece here that's larger that I told you about. It kind of goes like I'm going to try to get it where it looks so I can kind of show it to you. This is the front. You see how wide it is here, right? But if you look at it from the side, it really is going to come out from the front. Of course, this is going to sit in there like there when I get it in there. But then you got the front of the hood that's going to go into here for that look, okay? And then it's going to end up being a pretty snazzy looking Mach 1 when we're totally finished with it. But this is where we are so far. Wanted to give you that look, and the next time you see it, it'll be the finished part. I'll also, let me show you one thing, is the engine that we put together. Just a second. Okay, we got, this is the engine here. Okay, got it in there underneath the vehicle. Got to tighten up all of this and make it look pretty. I put the wheels that were on the vehicle in the movie. This is the engine compartment. Okay. Everything under there will be tightened up nice and neat looking. Okay. But I want to get it in first, let everything dry before I painted it. Okay. And of course, I'm going to put detail tape so the black doesn't get messed up. But all of this is going to be silver. which indicates the aluminum muffler system, up into the headers. Okay, right here, and this is the transmission. Of course, you got your oil pan and everything. Okay, so kind of got it all right there. Okay, kind of how everything is. Trying to see if there's anything else. Of course, you got your tires and everything on here. The rims. I had an option with these. These could have been mags, but I wanted to kind of keep it close to the movie car. Okay. And it's still going to be a nice little look with it. Once we finally get it going on here, you can see that it's not a bad look with it on there. You got to be careful when you're putting it on there because it will, tear up on you if you're not careful. And then, of course, you got this here. Okay, and you kind of get a finished look of how it's going to be. Okay, but you'll see it next time. Complete it. It's kind of a nice look to it. And it'll have the seats and everything in it. But for now, thank you very much for tuning in. I just wanted to show you the progress of what we had. And we're going to go from there. And the next time you see it, it shall be a finished product. Okay? Thank you very much for tuning in for MuscleModelCars.com, and we will see you next time.